Hey everybody, and welcome to Rabbit's Ramblings, podcast 353. This time I don't have much to say, but I did play the Outriders demo, so I'll be talking about that. You can play it too. It will be available even past launch, so you can check it out for yourself. But I will ramble about my thoughts, and hopefully you'll enjoy the show. Outriders is a role-playing cover-based shooter where the cover is really just for the enemy. I would compare it to a much faster Mass Effect or maybe Gears of War. Others have compared it to series like Borderlands, and it has a loot system that you could probably describe closest to Diablo. You have 8 total powers per class, of which you can only slot 3 at a time, but they are really fast. Most of them cycle back in about 20 seconds. Longer ones will take about 40 seconds. And you unlock these as you level up in the game. Loot is really varied in what it can do, although there are a somewhat limited number of weapons total. But what you really want to look for is what kind of perks they have on the weapons that you do like. Some perks will do extra damage. Some have armor piercing, some have lifesteal, and some even have abilities from other classes. You'll also want to look for perks on armor, like one pair of gloves I found when I was playing on my Technomancer allowed me to use one of my abilities twice instead of once. So a lot of these perks can be really cool and really helpful. Not in the demo, but in the full release game, you will be able to craft or alter the items. I'm not exactly sure how it will work. There's a video that does explain it on their YouTube. But when you disassemble an item, you sort of put that perk into a collection, and then I think when you craft a new item, you can use that perk on the new item. I believe also they showed an existing item that had 2 perks. They didn't like one of the perks, and so they decided to replace it with another perk they knew how to craft. For me, combat actually feels a little bit too fast. I think I'd prefer it if characters moved maybe 30% slower. It does feel accurate to real-life movement speed, but I feel more encouraged just to wah and charge in and not think tactically at all, because a lot of the healing and shielding mechanic is based into how much damage you're doing. So the game really encourages you to push hard and push fast and not stay behind cover, as I mentioned at the start, but also to kind of play a bit too recklessly in some cases. Hopefully I'll get used to that pace as I play the full game, as well as once I collect enough perks, I can sort of modify my weapons and armor to better fit my playstyle and make me a little bit more tanky and a little bit maybe more life-stealy, so I don't have to quite charge in as much to heal. I could just heal by doing damage no matter what, and so hopefully that will work out okay. It's hard to tell how the game will pan out in mid and late game, but the first few missions have you bouncing quite quickly between the base and the next mission, so the pacing seems really well. It's kind of like go to a mission, do it come back, go and do another one, and it's all very quick. There's a lot of shaky cam in the cutscenes, and I guess it was intentional, but based on all of the feedback during the test of people saying it's just way too shaky, they did say they will work on cutting that back quite a bit, but it could take quite a while down the road for them to implement that and patch it in. So if you play the demo and you're like, oh my god, this camera is driving me nuts, apparently it will get reduced in the future. But I would warn you that if you do tend to get motion sick, maybe be wary of that. If you're in a cutscene, if you're in combat, it's totally fine, and the camera is almost completely solid. You only get shake when you're supposed to get shake, like a big explosion or something, or you get hit really hard. But there's almost no camera shaking in combat. Motion blur is kind of a big issue for me when running. I really hate motion blur, and I think depth of field is the other one that kind of blurs the background. But again, based on feedback they got during the beta, a patch for that will hopefully come soon and definitely be in before launch, that you will be able to turn off the blurriness when you're moving really fast. So no motion blur in the future, but if you play the demo right now, it will probably still be there. One thing that I do find kind of bad is that the voice acting and sound design seem kind of bad. It's almost as if the actors were given lines to say remotely with no direction on what kind of inflection or motivation the character had at the time. So all of the lines sound kind of flat, and sometimes maybe they'll have an emotion that doesn't quite fit the scene. Also, in terms of sound design, it's kind of extremely minimal. I'm noticing maybe 2 or 3 sound layers, where in most things, especially movies, you'll be used to dozens or even hundreds of sound layers. So the sound design sounds like it was kind of really hastily done, and there's a lot missing from the scenes. Most people will probably just feel like it sounds bad and not know why, but I really think that's the reasons why. Like in a cutscene, when you're in the base, you'll hear the people talking. You might hear 1 or 2 machines right next to you, but the things like, the bass sounds, the people in the background noises, the machine noises far away, the noise of maybe ships driving around or flying by overhead, none of that exists. So it feels like there's something off with the sound, but you might not realize right away that it's all of those backgrounds and sort of, I think it's diegetic sound, sound in the scene that isn't really there, that kind of makes it feel off in general. I do like it quite a bit. I think it has a lot of potential. I am keeping my pre-order, and I expect I will have a lot of fun with it. The special edition for it is only the base $60. It's not charging extra for the extra stuff. So if I get 40 to 60 play hours out of it, I think that would be very fair, because they're going for a solid game. They said they will probably look at doing expansions if enough people have enough interest in it, but it is expected to be a single shot, and everything that's supposed to be in the game is in the game. You don't have to wait for updates or downloadable content that they're going to charge you microtransactions for. None of that's going to happen. If they make an expansion, it would just be an expansion. Boom, it's done. You get everything that's in the expansion in the expansion. So I am hopeful more content will come in time, but it's not a live service game, so you shouldn't expect, hundreds or thousands of hours. It's not that kind of game. It's a play, I think they've said 30 to 40 hours for the campaign is what they expect. So you should, expect to play that either alone or with friends, and then, rerun content if you enjoy it. Play, online with your friends, or just play solo, or play, matching with strangers, and rerun the content you enjoy rerunning. But don't expect it to be, something you need to grind forever and ever, because that's the kind of game it is, because that's kind of not the game it is. And they do want you to collect the loot and have fun hunting for it and collecting it, but it's not planned to, go on forever as some games do. And that's really all my thoughts for it. Like I said, it is out for all the things, and it will be up until after launch. So if you're interested in checking it out, you can do so. It will be for PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series. So look it up and check it out if you are interested, and maybe it will be something you want to get at launch. From the newsroom. There's a little bit of news. Elder Scrolls Online's new patch is now out for both PC and should be out for consoles the weekend this podcast comes out. Free for everybody is the new champion point system, which does require all of your current champion points to be reset because it's a completely different system, as well as resetting all of your skills. So hopefully you knew that was coming and have your skills recorded in some way. If you pay for the DLC, you do get access to 2 new dungeons, and I believe each of them have 3 new sets of armor, I think, plus the monster sets for each. So lots of cool new gear to get if you get the DLC. Things to watch out for coming soon will be Evil Genius 2 at the end of this month on March 30th for PC. And of course, Outriders launches the next day on April 1st. Again, that's for PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series. And that's it for the news. And that's all I have to talk about this time. It looks like 3 weeks from now, both Evil Genius 2 and Outriders will be out, but I will only have them for a couple days. So I don't know how much I'll be able to talk about either one, but I guess that's what I will talk about next time, at least very briefly. Things are, I guess, okay-ish for, my terrible homeless life and, the virus that everything is closed. That is this new apocalyptic world we are currently in. I'm trying to stay, as safe as I can. It was getting slightly warmer the last couple of weeks, but then this week it's turned to cold rain, so it's gone pretty much right back to cold wintertime. So that's pretty terrible, but I'm okay. I'm warm enough. So hopefully I can continue to hang on. And I guess in 3 weeks I'll have that stuff to talk about. And I'll talk about one or both of those very briefly, probably. But hopefully I'll see everybody then. Okay, thanks, bye. Outriders is a third-person, sort of cover-based shooter where the cover is really... Outriders is a third-person based shooter. Outriders is a third-person role-playing... Outriders is a role-playing game, but it's a shooter. Enough people have enough interest in it, but it.
You have been listening to Rabbit's Ramblings. If you would like to see the show notes or feed the bunny by sending a donation, you can find the show website at www.rabb1t's rabbitsramblings.html. When you type Rabbit's Ramblings, don't use a space. If you would like to send me an email, you can do so at rabbit@rabbit.com. If you like my page, you can also post on Facebook at rabbit.com. You can follow me on YouTube at rabb1t's. I have a page on Patreon at www.patreon.com/rabbit, RABB1T. You can set up a monthly recurring subscription there at a price point of your choice. Be sure to put the number 1 in place of I anytime you type rabbit.
Rabbit's Ramblings is copyright Eric Stryker, using a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Derivatives License, 2021.